something really honest about that piece of advice. It's basically saying that college is not going to be the ticket. Like, you're not just going to like silently. I thought I would silently go through school, just meet nobody, get good grades, and then turn in that transcript for a job. I really I really had that idea in my head, and I wish I had known what this particular piece of advice is saying, which is that a lot of your success is going to depend on things that aren't just like academic work at school. It's going to have to be like in your whole life, and that's a more holistic thing that's tricky to tackle when you're 19 years old, I think.
Yeah, I had a similar attitude of just like I was, by dint of being a brilliant student, was going to have, the future paved out for me. And
Right.
That's not how the world works. It, for better or worse, a lot of like social connections lead to, job opportunities. And that's part of the reason there's so much inequality in the US, because social connections map onto job opportunities. But yeah, I was thinking, I guess like the question that doesn't get answered by any of these is like, what's the point of any of this other than just making money? Like, okay,
that's
make
the
connections.
question I don't want a student to raise his hand and say in class.
Yeah, because that's the one I don't really have an answer for. It's that,
Exactly.
It's the existential question. It's Camus, like, every day you decide not to commit suicide. Why is that? Right.
Put that on the board before you even start class. Just put that up there.
Before I say my name, before they meet me. Yeah. And, I guess it gets back to that, supposedly the question that college helps you deal with, which is like, what's the point of any of this? Yeah, money's important and you'll worry about it more the older you get. But I don't know, at a certain point, it's like, what do you do if you get the big apartment and you have the money? Then what?
Yeah, right. That's the thing. It's like, when did me and you, humanities, writing, literature, history, how did we become the guys that have to tell people how to get jobs and survive in capitalism? Why is that on me? Like, that was never why I went to school. I wanted to teach students about American history. And I didn't want to teach them about American history so that they could go into the job market. Although, all those years of teaching at Baruch at a business school, I literally had to do that. It was sort of like form my survey level class that no one is a history major in, to the sort of expectations of students who were kind of like, yeah, and what does this matter to me now? How is this going to help me work at Goldman Sachs? That sort of thing. And it defiles the humanities to think this way. And yet here we are kind of being like, how do we work the Grindset into our Jane Austen class? And it's dumb, man. It's not what we're supposed to be doing. I don't have an answer for that.
Yeah, one thing I come back to is telling students that it's just kind of a personal comfort to know more stories and like cool bits of language that you can pull up out of your memory. Like, I feel like I understand more about how to navigate the world because I've consumed more narrative. I mean, maybe not a whole lot about how to navigate the world, but a little bit more than I would if I didn't read novels.
Yeah, right. Like, you speak to the value of it that way rather than like, I mean, it's really awkward to be like, we're gonna, learn about, the visual culture of the Civil War, and I'm going to try to graft that onto some lesson about how to survive in 21st century America. To me, like, my lessons are going to be more about like insights we can draw about American political life, and we'll talk about the situation in the world, but we're not going to be thinking necessarily about how we personally move through it, because that's, I mean, I don't want to be cruel, but that's up to each man must come to that on his own, like how you're going to wrap your sort of practice of living around the experience of history is something that we're all going to have to deal with one way or the other.